Today we're talking about the P320. Is this gun actually drop safe, or do they just go off unintentionally in holsters or when dropped? Is it an accident waiting to happen? Today I'm not only going to drop my own guns and show you what happens, but I'm also going to show you the components that were changed in order to mitigate this issue. Let's go and get into it. So I'm going to bring you to the table with me and I'll show you what to look for. So when you see a video where a P320 is just going off, you'll be able to visually tell if that gun has been upgraded through the voluntary program. So let's go over to the table. And one of the first things that they did here and changed up, if you notice the trigger right here, compared to a new one, right? They lightened the trigger. And so by doing that, you have less mass and less chance of the trigger being pulled back to the rear. So you can see they shaved it down, lightened it up. It also changed the trigger pull, but we got to take them apart to show you the other things that they did here. All right, the unmodified one is on your left. The updated one is on your right. I keep saying unmodified, but never changed, right? Never had any of these updates. So you can see there's a channel right here, and that is where the manual disconnector now goes. Okay, so this is one of the components they actually put on this gun, and you can see clearly this one has nothing there. Okay, again, on the left is the non-updated one. Here is the one on the right that has been updated. You'll notice, and by the way, SIG has this stuff on their website too if you want to check it out, but you'll notice right here, here's your safety bar, here's your sear. When I pull up on the safety bar, I'm pulling the trigger, the sear drops and then resets. So it's doing two actions there. It's dropping the sear and then it resets the sear. One other thing you'll notice is how easy it is to pull this up, right? And how easy it is to push that down. Updated one. First of all, here's that manual disconnector, which then takes the job away from the safety bar from resetting the sear. So you'll notice the sear goes down. Boom. But the disconnector resets the sear. And this component is what gives you a different feeling trigger, the disconnector. So again, you drop that, sear goes down, safety bar's up. The disconnector then resets the sear. And also you'll notice how much harder, there's much more resistance on the sear and the safety bar. Another thing that they did, you'll notice back here, you see that little ledge right there, right? That is what this sits on inside your slide, okay? And so on the old design, it sits right there. Notice how it's flat the rest of the sear. On the new one, looks like a much smaller area, surface area for that to sit, right? But they have an additional one here. So if all these safeties end up failing and this slips off for some reason, you have an additional one right there. This is one of the new Spectra comps, same thing. It is a much smaller ledge back here that it sits on, this surface area here, right? But again, we have a backup right there. So do all of these changes now make the P320 a drop safe gun? Well, I'm gonna walk you through what I found with my own. So I got these P320s and I dropped them several different ways from several different heights. And so the way that I tested this is I put a snap cap in the gun, right? I used the one that has not been upgraded. And the whole idea is that we don't need the pistol to fire with a live round. We just need to see that it actually fires. So the easiest way to do this, we got the snap cap in there, striker is set, ready to go. Once it pulls, that's the sound you're gonna get. If it had already fired by the time I pick it up and test it, then you'll get this sound. it's a much different sound, right? Same thing with the AXG. Okay? If the striker drops, after it hits the ground or whatever, it's gonna, if it's already dropped that striker, this is the sound that I'll get. And so I drop these things over a dozen times each. And I never could get either one of them to fire. Eventually I got to the point with this one, because this is the one I really wanted to see if it would fire. And I would get to the point where I was just slamming it down on the ground. Now, I know somebody's going to say, oh, well, what about concrete? Oh, well, what about, you know, the freaking teak wood? Or, you know, what about oak? You're supposed to drop it on oak. you know, you can't make everybody happy, but those were some hard, solid hits on a wood floor with really thin carpet. Okay, so can we get it to fire like this, though? And you'll notice I'm hitting it from all different sides, you know, because you never know how it's going to hit the ground, right? Still didn't fire. Still didn't fire. All right. Still didn't fire. And so there you go. I don't know how else to bring you the information, but I believe there was some circumstances where this happened and people just latched onto it. Not everybody, but some people just latched on and they continue to spew these just straight up lies. And so that's what it is. I mean, you know, I see no other reason for people to do that unless they're joking or just totally ignorant. I am dropping it just like this, trying to get it to boom. You know, we can even try to do it ourselves here. Still didn't fire. Some people will just latch onto things without actually doing research of their own. And it's the internet. It's the wild, wild west when it comes to those kinds of things. But I am here to lead you in the right direction and tell you the truth as I see it. And from what I have done with the P320, as much as I've used them, they are a fantastic gun. I've carried all of those guns you just seen outside the waistband from time to time, never had any issues, and like we saw today, none of them, not even the one that hasn't been upgraded, fired or attempted to fire at all. If you like this video, maybe you'll like one of the ones that I've done on the AXG Legion or the Spectra Comp, and I'd love to hear from the community here what you think about the 320 gate, if you will. Leave those comments down below. If you like what I do, consider subscribing and join the channel. See you in the next one, and as always, hold them down.